Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of CEO Conversations, the Private Practice Podcast. I am Brandy, Mabra, and today we are going to be talking about the four freedom systems. Four freedom systems that are going to get you out of the hustle, grind, the overwhelm, the burnout that you might feel as you're scaling your practice. So I'm getting financial reports all day long. Am I looking at it? Maybe not, because I'm busy. I'm always asking the question, when was the last time that you were out in the community? Oh, yeah. We have to be on point. We have to make sure that we're good. We have to make sure that we're pouring back into ourselves. Welcome to CEO Conversations, the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Mabra. This is your one-stop shop to learn the business side of your practice on a deeper level. On this show, we empower you to own your CEO status to scale your practice for growth, sustainability, and profit. Listen in as we talk about how to market your practice to gain more visibility, hire, build, and engage your ride or die dream team, create streamlined operations, and make financial decisions as a CEO. It's time to show up as a confident leader to create a practice and life you love. Let's get started. So there's four freedom systems that are going to allow for you to have the time that you want, the money that you want, the impact that you want, for you to have your practice truly run without you. Freedom system number one is the CEO system. Inside of the CEO system, you have to focus on energy, time, and self-care. Freedom system number two is your marketing system. That means that you have to have enough traffic and lead generation. You need to build relationships, and you have to have full schedules. Freedom system number three is your money systems. Your money systems, you have to have the mindset at every stage of business growth coming from a place of abundance. You have to monitor your money, so you have to know your numbers at every stage of business growth. And you have to make sure that you are leveraging the money that's coming in and the profits that you are gaining from your practice in order to help you build real wealth. Freedom system number four is your team systems. Inside of your team system, you're going to focus on hiring and paying attention to the small details within your hiring process. You're going to nurture your team for how they need to treat you, and you're going to delegate. Like your life depends on it is what you're going to do. So those are the four freedom systems that you need inside of your practice, inside of your life, in order for you to have the best opportunity for your practice to run without you. Yeah, so let me dive into where these four freedom systems came from. So I was on a plane traveling, and I was thinking about the fact that I was able to travel and I had set myself up for success. And so even going back to the practice that I was over a cardiology practice. I had at that point in time, I want to say I had maybe between 35, 40 employees, and 10 providers that I was responsible for at that point in time. And I hadn't taken a vacation for 2 years, like 2 whole years. And when I finally got to a place of taking a vacation, my team was happy. I was happy. And so there's a picture of me actually ziplining in Jamaica. And I am just like free as a bird. It was one of the best vacations that I had. And I actually came home with 35 mosquito bites, but that's neither here nor there. But within that, thinking about that, how was I able to get to that place? How was I able to get to that level of freedom? These four systems came to mind. And so when we're talking about the freedom that you can have inside of your practice, and we're talking about the vision that you have, the schedule that you want to have, that you want to work, the lifestyle that you're trying to achieve, all of that is possible. It's completely possible. But it does take work. It does take time. It does take consistency. It does take a lot of mindset shifts. And these four freedom systems are going to help you with it. We did talk about these four freedom systems in Miami. So we just came off of a beautiful retreat, which was really great just to be able to have our clients in person and be able to be in community. And so we did dive into these four systems, and even going into Q2 inside of Private Practice CEO, we are going to be talking more about these four systems as well. So for today, I'm able to give you a little bit about them. If you want to learn more about them, then you can learn, or you can go ahead and join Private Practice CEO. It's what you can do. All right, so let's talk about freedom system number one and diving in more into that. So that's your CEO system. This is the foundation of you. I can honestly, always, and I did this even during the retreat, where you can give me some type of issue, some type of problem, some type of, hey, I'm tired, exhausted, overwhelmed, or burnt out, or you can give me a team problem, or you can give me a marketing problem. Give me any problem, and I guarantee you I can always work it back to the CEO system. When we're thinking about the metrics that matter, one of the biggest metrics that matter the most is your CEO bandwidth, which is your energy. If you don't have the energy, if you don't have the capacity in order to build the business or to grow the business or to scale the business, you're going to struggle, and it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your team. It's going to hurt everyone that's around you, and family and friends and everything. So it's really important when we're talking about the CEO systems that you're setting yourself up for success. The CEO system for me right now is something that I am working in real time, trying to make sure, like, what do I need so I can have the best energy as I'm showing up? Even with recording this podcast or filming this podcast, I'm really tracking, like, what's the energy. I'm giving myself the time that I need in order to make sure that I can pour back into myself, right? So I'm actually auditing my time. We are reworking some of the systems that we're using, even from project management tools. We're creating more processes around how I show up. I'm in process of training up my team, even with my podcast manager as she's standing here. We've gone through and, like, what can you maybe help me with? Like, all of these things are all baked into CEO systems. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, what do you need for the season that you're in, right? In order for you to have the most energy. Also paying attention to your time. So this is where time audits come into play, really paying attention where your time is going. How do you want to spend your time? What is the best use of your time? All of these things matter. When we're really diving into the self-care piece, we have to be on point. Like, we have to make sure that we're good. We have to make sure that we're pouring back into ourselves. So I'm making sure that I still have my nail appointments. I'm trying to make sure I have my hair appointments. I'm trying to make sure that I have wind down time with literally a glass of wine, as I'm just relaxing and not coming from a place of stress, but really coming from a place of, I need this time just to decompress, because there's a lot that's coming at me as a person, as a business owner, as a parent, as a daughter, as a partner, like all of it. And so it's important for you to really pay attention to the CEO system. And so we can take the same business tools that we're talking about and put them inside of your life and have the same type of rhythm and cadences that you need to be successful. When we're talking about the second system, marketing systems, lead generation, right? So that is traffic. When you are trying to scale your practice, when you have multiple providers, so this is for the providers who have 5+ providers and really trying to get schedules filled, and the realness of the times that we are in is showing up in your schedules in real time. That traffic piece is so important. And so this is where right now, even with our clients, we're working very heavily on, how's your SEO doing? A lot of our clients are refining their SEO. There's actually a really great episode on websites, and we dive into SEO. Even in, it's with Just Creatives. But with that, like, we're making sure too, what is the paid advertising looking like? Is it working? Does Google Ads, are you getting your money's worth? Like, also making sure that our clients are paying attention to, where is the traffic coming from? Where's the leads coming from? What is the data behind it? So that way they're able to double down on it. But that traffic is so important. Even diving into, what's the sales process, right? So how are you getting people to consultations? Really monitoring the numbers of consultations. How many consultations do you need in order to hit your revenue goals? How many new patients do you need in order to hit your revenue goals? How many appointments do you need in order to hit your revenue goals? All of these numbers become so important when you're trying to make sure the marketing makes sense and that the lead generation makes sense. So when we're really talking about the lead generation, it also falls into building relationships, right? And so the biggest difference between a profitable practice and a non-profitable practice, from what I see, is the amount of relationships that they have built and the amount of time that they're taking to nurture even their referral partners, the providers in the community, other businesses maybe that they can collaborate with, the patients who have become referral partners, like all of it is all part of relationship building. So relationship building, especially when you're trying to fill up your schedules and the marketing piece, that community-based piece is extremely important. And more times than not, when people are saying, like, my schedules are not filled, especially when they have different types of service lines and providers, I'm always asking the question, when was the last time that you were out in the community? Oh, yeah. And so from a CEO perspective, that's you. That is your wheelhouse. And so that is where you can get the most bang for your buck. We've talked about lifetime value of a patient, in past episodes. And so when we're thinking about you being out, then that's a really great use of your time, building relationships, re-engaging relationships, driving home the relationship, being on the stage in order to foster relationships, making sure that you're collaborating with future partners, joint ventures, all of those things is part of that community piece and that relationship building piece. For the last part of marketing and why it's a part of the freedom system is full schedules. When your schedules are filled, when those patients are coming in, when those clients are on the templates or on the schedules, you feel good inside. Less stress. Money's there. Money's coming in. Your job is to bill for it. That's another problem. But at the same time, it makes cash flow easier. It makes revenue easier. It makes having profit at the end of the month, if you manage your expenses right, easier. Everything is easier when you have full schedules. When I see my clients panic, when I have panicked, it is because schedules are light. Where are them patients at? And yes, there's ups and downs and seasonality to schedules and everything. But at the end of the day, full schedules are your friend, and you always feel like you have more freedom when you have a full schedule. The only time that you don't, maybe, is if you are part of that mix and your schedule's filled. That's a different story, and that's a different episode, and that's a different conversation for another day. For your providers, it's really great for them to have full schedules for sure. So the third system is the money system. And when we're thinking about the money system, it is the number one thing. At the time of this recording, I posted on Instagram how one of my clients, she was an existing business owner. She shut down that business and started a new arm for her business, and it was zero revenue coming in the door. So she has worked with me for 3 years. She was about a year in when she actually shut down the business. And so the last 2 years, we've been working the new arm of the business. So zero revenue to today, she's at 1.6 million, or on track for 1.6 million. When we're thinking about that type of jump and we think about that type of business growth, then there are certain money mindsets that come into play. There are things that need to be monitored. There are different conversations that you're having with your accountant, and you're making sure that you have money left over as profit in order to be able to build real wealth, right? And so inside of the money system, it's one of the most emotional systems, I think, outside of maybe the CEO system, but like the marketing or the money system, it's very complex, but it's also one of the biggest systems that you have the most impact with. It might not feel that way because if it's the mindset, which is the first piece of it, at every stage of business growth, there's going to be a different mindset. What I find is people in the beginning stages are trying to figure out, how can I make money? How can I make money? And so that scarcity mindset. When people who get to further stages in business, and I can even attest to this, you're trying to not lose it. So you are specifically doing things in order to hold on to it, or maybe you're nervous to invest it, or it's the other thing. Either you're not comfortable with having that type of money and you want to get rid of it, oh my gosh, I need to go spend it on something, or I need to maybe give it away because I feel guilty. Like really money mindset is so interesting and we could dive into it and probably talk about that. Like that could be a whole episode too. But it's important for you to recognize where is your money story coming into play as you're making more money, and recognizing what story is coming into play, because one story could give you a certain money mindset at one stage of business growth, and that same money story could give you a different mindset at a different stage of business growth. So it's important for you to recognize all along the journey what's happening with your mindset. The second part of this is monitoring. So I know at every stage of business growth, I know even for me, 60 million plus, like sometimes I was not as attuned as what I needed to be with my financials, right? So I'm getting financial reports all day long, getting my profit and loss statement, getting my general ledger, getting, invoices, all of it. Am I looking at it? Maybe not, because I'm busy. I'm busy. I got a team. I'm getting pulled in multiple directions. I'm getting pulled and I just maybe don't have time. And so it's your job to definitely take a pause, to take a beat, and to pay attention to the numbers, right? And you need to monitor the numbers from the front to the back. And so what that means is, how is the front desk doing? How are things happening in the middle when it comes to documentation? And how are things happening in the back when it comes to billing? How are things happening with collecting money once patients come through? Or if you're private pay, how are you doing with collecting money? We just got through, or maybe some folks are still in deductible season. How are you doing with collecting the outstanding deductibles, outstanding balances? Like all of that starts to factor in when we're talking about the money piece. And that goes into leveraging, right? So if the more profitable you are as a practice and as a business, the more fun entrepreneurship becomes. When you are not just paying one bill and paying another bill and barely paying yourself, that's not fun. But what is fun is when you have money left over and you've already paid yourself. And now you can actually build runway, or you can take that runway and you can go invest back into the business, or you can go join other types of ventures, or you can go and invest in things in order to start to build some real wealth that gives you true freedom when we're talking about the money piece. That's why it is a freedom system. Number 4, for the team systems, that is more or less about you just becoming a really great leader, right? And so hiring is the first part of it. And it's really interesting. So a lot of times people get frustrated. I think for some of the stories that I can pull from myself is, man, I keep hiring the same person for the same position and it's not working out. I don't know what's wrong. And even from the clients that I work with, even from my own journey, it comes down to the small details of hiring. And when you have a team that is engaged, it's because you are very in tune with your business culture. You're very in tune with what that position needs. You're very in tune with the skill sets, and you are paying attention to what is the right type of person, and you're being picky, right? So a lot of times people get folks onto the interview schedule way too soon, way too soon. And they need to be more picky about who they actually allow to take up their time, who to take up their team's time. And with the hiring system, it even comes down to resume. So there's times where I'll ask to see a resume of folks that even for my clients are hiring. And I'm always looking for the story of the resume. What is the storytelling of how they've worked, their job history? It's more than they were at this place for 2 years or they have a healthcare skill set. No, it's down to what for them to be at a place for 2 years, but also what's the story of the next place that they went? Do you see like where they were leaving jobs for promotional opportunities? Do you see where they took a job for a demotion? Do you see that they took a job where they went from an in-person position to a remote position? All of these things are stories. Do you see that they worked 2 jobs at the same time? So there's stories inside of a resume. And so a lot of times what happens is people don't pay attention to the story of the resume. They look at things very surface level. And they think that the person brings a really great skill set. They hire that person. Then all of a sudden, the person is exhibiting the exact same story that was inside the resume. Well, they have a whole other job and I need for them to focus on me. Well, you knew that they were going to have a side hustle because they did it with the prior job, right? You knew that they were going to be busy because they did it with the prior job. You knew that they were going to ask to work from home because they did it with the prior job. So it's important for you to pay attention to the story and to understand that there's deeper details at play when it comes to how you're hiring. The second part is nurturing. So you have to teach your team how to treat you. And it's just like any other relationship. So if you teach them to come ask you questions every day, that's what they're going to do. If you teach them that I'm the only person who can fix this problem, that's what they're going to do. If you teach them I'm going to answer every single question that you have in depth detail, that's what you're teaching them. So it's just like a bad boyfriend or someone who is just, walking all over your boundaries. You have to have boundaries with your team and you have to empower them to handle their own problems, to answer their own questions, and to make sure that they're going after the solution. If they are coming to you for everything, then you've nurtured them that way. And you cannot be mad at anybody but yourself. So you have to nurture your team to lead, and you have to nurture your team to be confident in the fact that they know the answer. And that all comes from that nurturing piece. You find real freedom when you nurture your team for how you want to be treated, right? So if you want to be treated as, hey, I would like to take time off and I want to be able to sip cocktails at the beach and not be bothered, then that's how you nurture your team. You teach them in order to function without you, right? You teach them to be able to run the business without you. When it comes to the delegation piece, then you delegate like your life depends on it, right? And if you've nurtured them right, then they should be able to handle the tasks that you've given them. Usually they're not able to handle the tasks that you've given them because you didn't nurture them right. With the team system, I think that is probably one of the biggest systems that if you implement it the way that it needs to be, that can give you the most freedom. And it's really fun to watch people as they start to delegate, or to watch like our clients as they're starting to delegate and to get more things off of their plate, like how much time they get back, right? How much like bandwidth they start to have, how much energy, going back to the CO system, how much energy that they have. So it's really powerful. So those are the 4 freedom systems that can really, honestly, if you implement them right, change your life. And again, if you need help, you're like, wow, this sounds so good, then go ahead and you can apply to be part of Private Practice CEO, which is in the information that's connected to the show. So I think that's it for freedom systems today. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and it empowers you as the CEO of your practice. If you enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe, share the message, and leave a review. If you want more information and support in growing and scaling your practice, click the link in the show notes to take advantage of our free resources or apply to work with me directly. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.